The last thing my grandpa said about me was that I abandoned him. At least, that's what my parents told everyone in the room while he lay in a hospital bed. Too weak to argue. They said I stopped visiting, stopped calling, stopped caring the moment things got difficult. And because he could barely speak at the end, everyone believed them. If you enjoy emotional true story style narratives like this, please take a second to subscribe. And drop your city and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone is watching from. My name is Emma. I'm 25 and I live about an hour outside Des Moines. For most of my life, my grandpa, Robert Hayes, was the one person in my family who truly understood me. When my parents and I fought, he was the one who told me to breathe and keep my head up. When I graduated college, he was the loudest person clapping in the entire auditorium. So hearing that he died, believing I didn't care about him, that destroyed me. But here's the part nobody in my family expected. 3 days after his funeral, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. The woman on the other end introduced herself as Linda, one of the night nurses who had been taking care of my grandfather during his final weeks. Her voice was hesitant, like she wasn't sure she should even be calling. "Emma," she said quietly, "I hope this isn't inappropriate, but I think you deserve to know something." My stomach tightened. She told me she'd been working the night shift the week before my grandfather passed. Most nights were quiet, just the sound of machines, soft footsteps in the hallway, and patients sleeping. But one night my parents had come to visit. According to Linda, they thought Grandpa was asleep. He wasn't. And what they said in that room changed everything. Linda paused before continuing, like she was replaying the moment in her head. "They started talking about you," she said. At first I assumed it was normal family stuff. Maybe they were telling him why I hadn't been able to visit as often. But Linda's voice grew serious. "They told him you didn't care about him anymore, that you were too busy with your new life to bother seeing him before he died." My chest felt like someone had dropped a brick on it, because that wasn't true, not even close. I had tried to visit him 3 different times that month, but every time I called, my mother told me the same thing. "Don't come today. He's sleeping. Don't come tonight. He's too weak for visitors. Maybe next week." I believed her. I thought I was respecting his rest. Linda took a slow breath on the phone before saying the one sentence that made my heart start racing. "Emma, your grandfather heard everything they said about you that night." I gripped the phone tighter. "Okay," I whispered. "But how do you know that?" There was a short pause. Then Linda said something that would turn my entire family upside down. "Because your grandfather recorded the whole conversation." When Linda said my grandfather recorded the whole conversation, I honestly thought I had heard her wrong. My grandpa was 82. He barely used a smartphone. Half the time he asked me how to turn the TV back to regular, cable after accidentally opening Netflix. So the idea that he somehow recorded my parents felt impossible. "What do you mean?" "He recorded it?" I asked. Linda lowered her voice like someone might overhear her even though we were just on the phone. "The night your parents were there," she explained. "Your grandfather had his phone on the table next to the bed. He'd been asking me earlier how to record voice notes because he wanted to leave messages for his grandkids." My throat tightened. That sounded exactly like something he would do. She continued, "When your parents started talking about you, he didn't interrupt them. He just reached over and pressed record." For a moment I couldn't say anything. The image of him lying there, weak, quiet, listening to his own son and daughter-in-law talk about me like I didn't care about him, made my chest ache. "Did he say anything after?" I finally asked. Linda hesitated. "Yes," she said softly, "after they left. Apparently, once my parents walked out of the room, my grandfather asked Linda to help him sit up. She told me he looked exhausted but determined. Then he asked her a strange question. "Do you think Emma will come if I ask for her?" My heart dropped. Linda told him she didn't know why I hadn't visited, but she was sure I loved him. That's when he showed her his phone. The recording was still running. "He said something that stuck with me," Linda told me. He said, "I don't think my granddaughter knows what they're telling me about her." My parents had convinced him I stopped visiting because I didn't care. In reality, they had been the ones stopping me from coming. Suddenly, all those phone calls made sense. Every time I tried to visit. Every time my mom told me to stay home. Every time she said he was too tired to see anyone. I thought I was being respectful. But what if they were trying to keep us apart? "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked Linda. She was quiet for a second. "Because something about that night didn't feel right," she said. "And after your grandfather passed, your parents told the staff that you hadn't bothered visiting in weeks." My jaw clenched. They weren't just lying to him, they were lying to everyone. Linda took a breath before continuing. Before he died, your grandfather asked me to promise him something. My heart started beating faster again. What was it? I asked. He said, Linda replied, if Emma ever comes looking for the truth, give her the recording. I sat there in my kitchen staring at the wall. Because the next thing Linda said made it clear my parents had no idea what was coming. I still have the file, she said. And Emma? You need to hear what they said when they thought he couldn't. Couldn't believe I was holding the proof in my hands, or rather, listening to it through my phone. Linda had sent the file via a secure app, and the moment I hit play, my stomach sank. I heard my mother's voice first, smooth and confident, like she was narrating a story to a friend. Emma doesn't visit anymore, she said. She's too busy with her little life. I mean, she barely has time for us. Then my father chimed in, quieter but no less cutting. She thinks she's doing the right thing. But she hasn't even been here this month. I can't believe she's letting it get this far. And then my sister, Krista, joined in. Her tone was playful, almost flippant. She probably doesn't even remember his birthday, she laughed. Honestly, it's like she doesn't care at all. Each word felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I could hear Grandpa shifting in bed, weak but awake, asking questions here and there. He wasn't arguing. He wasn't defending me. He was just listening. Every sentence, every laugh, every excuse from my parents now had a context I couldn't ignore. They weren't just lying to me. They were lying to him. I felt a rush of anger and grief at the same time, a mix so raw I could hardly breathe. Then came the part that made my hands shake. My parents arguing about money, about how much I owed them for all those years of support. They claimed I never gave. And don't forget the insurance checks, my mother said. She thinks she's helping, but it's barely enough. She's selfish, my father muttered. I don't think she even notices half of it. Krista laughed again. Let her think she's the good one. We know the truth. It was like stepping into a different reality, one I'd never imagined. Every lie they told my grandfather, every manipulated memory was captured in that recording. I realized in that moment why he had asked for it to be given to me. He knew I didn't deserve this version of him, this image my parents were painting, and I understood what I had to do. This wasn't just about clearing my name. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about justice, about showing my grandfather, even after he was gone, that I was the granddaughter he knew I was. I sat there for a long time, listening to them talk, plotting in silence. Every laugh, every false accusation, every manipulation, they were all pieces of the puzzle. And when the time came, I would use them all. Not recklessly, not for humiliation, but so that the truth finally would be undeniable. For the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, control. And I wasn't going to let my parents take it from me again. The next step was simple, plan. And the first rule of that plan? Wait, watch, and make sure the right people hear it. Because some truths, once heard, can never be ignored. The day I decided to confront the truth, I didn't march into anyone's house. I didn't yell. I didn't even call my parents. I sat in my car outside the nursing home, heart hammering, phone in my hand, earbuds in, and hit play. The room inside was quiet, filled only with the soft beeping of machines and the muffled footsteps of nurses. I had asked Linda to let me listen one last time, just to make sure I remembered every detail, every tone, every lie. And then, with shaking hands, I walked in. I didn't announce myself. I didn't cry or beg for explanation. I simply set my phone down on the small table by Grandpa's bed, connected to a Bluetooth speaker I'd brought. The sound filled the room, clear and impossible to ignore. I watched my parents' faces first. Confusion, shock, fear. Their carefully constructed lies, broadcast in their own voices laid bare in front of them. My sister's jaw dropped. She tried to laugh it off, but the laughter faltered halfway. My grandfather, frail but alert, watched me with a soft, proud smile. He'd wanted me to hear the truth for myself, to know I wasn't the selfish granddaughter they had claimed I was. The weight I'd been carrying for weeks, the guilt, the anger, the heartbreak, started to lift. Mom tried to speak, her voice sharp and defensive. Emma, that's... I held up a hand, cutting her off. No, I said calmly, that's the truth. And it's not up for debate. Dad turned pale, his eyes darting between me and the phone, realizing there was nothing he could deny. Krista's phone slipped from her hand. She had been recording me. But now her own words betrayed her. Grandpa cleared his throat, weak but deliberate. Emma, he said, his voice soft but steady. I always knew you cared. I never doubted you. I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Linda watched quietly, giving me space. A gentle reminder that I didn't have to apologize for their lies. My parents were silent now, trapped in their own words. Every excuse, every manipulation, they had no room to wiggle. And that's when I understood. This wasn't revenge. This was restoration. The truth had been hidden for too long. My grandfather had wanted me to know, even if it was just for a brief moment before he passed. And thanks to him and Linda, I finally did. I picked up my phone, turned off the speaker, and sat beside Grandpa. I held his hand, felt his frail grip, and whispered the words I had longed to say. I love you. I always have. He squeezed my hand back, and for the first time, I knew he believed it. The lies couldn't take that away. The deception couldn't erase our bond. And in that small hospital room surrounded by truth and quiet understanding, I finally felt peace. Some battles aren't fought with anger or confrontation. Some battles are won quietly, with proof, with patience, and with the courage to let the truth speak for itself. And that night, the truth finally had its voice.